Tonight, we are going to take you inside a real-life spy scandal. You're about to meet the mom who helped bring down perhaps the worst traitor in CIA history. Her story has inspired a new ABC miniseries. So how did she do it? What you are watching is inspired by real-life events, one of the worst acts of treason in American history. At the height of the Cold War, a CIA officer walks into the Russian embassy in Washington, D.C., hands over a treasure trove of secrets, and demands a meeting with the KGB.
My name is Aldrich Ames. I work for the CIA.
This betrayal is at the heart of the new ABC miniseries, The Assets.
I think he'll want to meet with me after he reads this.
And it's based on the case of Aldrich Ames, a CIA mole whose treachery shocked the nation.
Tonight, Aldrich Ames.
And was covered extensively by Nightline, including this interview with Ted Koppel.
What you did for money. Stop me if I say anything that's wrong.
The Assets takes us inside the hunt to take down Ames, which was led in part by Sandy Grimes, a wife, mother, and CIA agent seen here on the show.
You're entitled to your opinion, Rick, even if it's wrong.
And seen here today. How much damage did Rick Ames' treason create?
He basically wiped out all the U.S. government's human source collection.
He wiped out your ability to have eyes and ears on the ground.
Exactly.
In our number one enemy.
Exactly.
Sandy Grimes first met Aldrich Ames, who everyone called Rick, in the early 1970s when they were both young agents and in the same carpool.
Rick was very pleasant, bright, a little arrogant.
At the time, Sandy had an extremely sensitive job, helping to manage the CIA's relationship with the agency's crown jewel, a spy named General Dmitry Polyakov, codenamed Top Hat, the highest-ranking Soviet officer ever recruited. Even though Grimes never actually met the general, she spent so long on his case that she felt he was her best friend.
These were human beings, and you took it upon yourself to keep them alive.
Why did he volunteer to help us?
He believed that the United States and its leaders were weak, that we didn't understand how dangerous the Soviets were.
Polyakov was a man who balanced his dangerous espionage work with a tender home life. So you were really close with him?
Very close.
His granddaughter, who he helped raise, remembers him as a doting figure.
He was always working with the wood, making furniture for my dolls and, little swords, wooden swords and guns.
But her relationship with her grandfather was cut brutally short when, on June 13th, 1985, Rick Ames gave the KGB a list of every known human asset the CIA had in the Soviet Union. The list had 20 names on it. Within a year, 10 of those people were executed. Among those rounded up, General Polyakov, seen here in this remarkable footage as he's arrested by Soviet agents and stripped on the spot just in case he had a cyanide pill on him to take his own life. He was later tried in a secret court and shot. Back at the CIA, no one knew exactly what had gone wrong, that they'd been betrayed by Aldrich Ames. Sandy Grimes blamed herself.
It's still hard to talk about. And of course, in many respects, it's more difficult because to Rick Ames, this is just the business.
You didn't view it as just business?
No.
It didn't take long for Grimes to start to suspect Rick Ames. Shortly before he volunteered to spy for the Russians, he had an affair with a Colombian woman named Rosario. She would become his second wife, and she had expensive tastes. Eventually, they bought a big, brand-new house, and Ames began wearing high-end suits, getting fancy haircuts, and driving a Jaguar. Despite these warning signs, the CIA didn't really begin to focus on Ames until many years later, when Grimes and several other agents were assigned to a special task force to investigate the intelligence leaks. Grimes's job was to construct a massive, meticulous database of all of Ames's activities. What the database revealed was that Ames made a series of cash deposits in the bank, each time just hours after meeting with a Russian official. Those meetings were sanctioned by the CIA, so they didn't look suspicious, until they were matched up with those bank statements.
And as it turns out, it was the first link that would eventually lead to Rick's arrest and conviction.
18 months later, as a result of the work done by Grimes and the rest of the task force, Aldrich Ames and his wife were arrested.
How are you feeling?
For Grimes, it was a bittersweet victory. To this day, she is angry about the people Ames betrayed, including General Polyakov.
He knew full well what fate awaited them. And he did it basically for money. He needed money to take care of Rosario. Rick was a weak person. He could not face telling Rosario no. I think it was that simple.
Ames was sentenced to life in prison.
What I did to those men, the situation of their families and others, and the kind of shame and the kind of remorse that I feel is something that is and I think always will be intensely personal to me.
Rosario Ames got 5 years in prison. When the FBI raided their home, they found 150 boxes of pantyhose that had never even been opened and designer dresses that had never been worn, still hanging in the closet. Rosario insisted she only knew about her husband's treason for the last 18 months, and even she denounced her husband.
I share the shock and the outrage. You don't betray your mother, you don't betray your country, you don't betray your wife, you don't betray people. That's the way I feel.
Recently, Grimes co-authored a book about the hunt for Ames called Circle of Treason. At a book signing last year, she got a surprise.
And I just came up to her. I was very nervous. I didn't even know what to say. So I opened the book at that page where my picture was, and I'm like, you know, I'm in this book.
Marina points to the picture and she said, "I'm that little girl." I said, "You're the general's granddaughter?" She said, "Yes." So we hugged one another.
We both, I think, were in tears.
Isn't she beautiful?
We were there as Grimes and the granddaughter of the man she once considered her best friend saw the new series, The Assets, for the first time.
Cash could be a sign of criminal activity, not espionage.
What do you hope viewers take away from this show?
That they remember those people who volunteered to the U.S. government, knowing that working for us, passing us secrets, might result in their losing their lives. In addition to that, I want them to remember that treason is a crime against every citizen of our country.